Hi guys, Mike Likenek, Movement is Life. It is Tuesday morning, and Tuesday morning is Double Tap Tuesday. Okay, today's Double Tap is about martial arts versus urban survival. Okay, so what are you? Are you a martial artist or are you an urban survivalist? Okay, so long time ago, martial arts were warfare oriented because the word martial, okay? With evolution of martial arts in society and humanity, the warfare got stripped away from martial arts and it became more sports oriented and more artistic oriented, therefore martial arts. Okay, so uh, I don't consider myself a martial artist. I consider myself an urban survivalist. Okay, and I'll explain why. Okay, one, I'm an ex-soldier. Okay, so because of that, the martial art no longer is connected to warfare as much as it used to be. So I don't completely identify myself as just a martial artist. And like for an example, I had a guy called me yesterday, seems extremely genuine. I'm going to try to help him out, and he's really interested in developing his Israeli martial arts skill. He's been doing Krav Maga for a long time. He dazzled a little bit in Haganah, but he wants to really develop as an Israeli martial artist. Okay, to me, Israeli martial artist is actually not the right title or the right terminology. It's really urban survival. Why? An urban survivalist is different than a martial artist. He has to train in a few divisions. Okay, division number one, firearms. Okay, most martial art people don't train firearms unless they're actually in Israeli martial arts, so to speak. Because it's just not part of it. Okay, in martial arts, weapons are weapons that are passe, like nunchucks, swords, bow staff, even a bow and arrow. And no offense to people who do that, that's great, but that's an art. Okay, I don't see anybody anytime soon showing up to the Middle East in one of the arenas in the Middle East, if it's the Gaza, if it's the Syria, if it's Lebanon, where there's modern warfare going on, or in Somalia, where our brother Robin is right now deployed, and you come on a battlefield and start swinging nunchucks. I don't see any of the insurgents or terrorists getting scared of it. Okay, so, and if you try to shoot with bow and arrows, it's not going to be as good as the firearms or missiles and this and that. So, in other words, if you're an urban survivalist, you have to train firearms, okay, and specifically more handgun than rifle. Number one, because most people will not be walking around with rifles, and number two, a handgun is more concealed. Okay, in mind, you're gonna have to develop the skill of a marksman of shooting with a handgun, which is actually harder than a rifle, because in today's rifle world, you have reflex sights. If in Israeli reflex sights, it's the MEPRO 21. If it's the American reflex sights, it's the AOTech systems. So handgun marksmanship is harder to develop. So one, you're going to have to train with firearms. Two, blade work. And when I say blade work, I'm talking fighting, knife fighting, not some bullshit. Let me teach you fucking knife defense that was taught 4 decades ago somewhere in the world. And I think this is going to work now if you work it a lot. I'm talking knife against knife, deadly event, deadly encounter, aggressive knife fighting. So you're going to have to train that if you consider yourself an urban survivalist. Then aggressive fist fighting. Okay, aggressive fist fighting, what I like to call battle ready boxing or kickboxing. Really aggressive fist fighting where there's no rules, there's no referees, use of elbows, use of knees, use of walls and the environment to bash somebody's face and carve their face inward. Okay, so that's aggressive fist fighting. You're going to need that for urban survival in case there is an all-out real fist fight and or riot, so to speak. Okay, and then you're going to also need other skills like, for an example, last week here in South Florida, there in Fort Lauderdale, there was a problem with the water. Okay, and a lot of people don't realize how important water is until there is a problem with the water, okay? Some contractor hit some pipe and there was no water in Fort Lauderdale for, I don't remember exactly the amount of time, but almost like a full day. The hospitals didn't have water, they couldn't use water, this and that. And now became the panic on water. So if you're an urban survivalist, you're gonna need the skills to understand how to make clean drinking water when there's problems with the water. That's urban survivalist versus martial artist, okay? It's more of like a skill that is applicable to today's world versus a martial artist. It's more like a tradition that was applied a long time ago, and you feel a culture connection or an artistic connection or a spiritual connection. The only spiritual connection I have when I get out of my house is that I want to go home at the end of that trip. If I'm going to the store or I'm going to run an errand, that I'm coming home safely no matter what happens. That's the only freaking spiritual thing I think of. Therefore, I'm an urban survivalist, not a martial artist. Okay, so I want to actually do something I don't usually do here on my YouTube. The average YouTube video that I post gets watched about 100 times, 100 views, okay? Sometimes it climbs up if the video is more progressive, and then people that are not connected to are gonna end up on search engine and watch the thing, and it climbs up to 200 views, sometimes 300 views. And if I do a review of a weapon that's not connected to us at all, like the MCK, then it climbs up to 1,000 views or a couple thousand views. But usually it's about 100 views. So I want to hear from my viewers, which are basically my students or my instructors that are watching my YouTube. What do you consider yourself? Do you consider yourself a martial artist, or do you consider yourself an urban survivalist? And if you consider yourself both, I want to know what you consider yourself first, which brings us also to the Lochem event in Chicago. In the Lochem event in Chicago in September that we're running for our organization, we are going to dazzle deep into urban survival. We're going to teach you guys how to make clear water, how to make fire when you don't have a freaking lighter or Zippo, and stuff that if the shit hits the fan and things get really bad off the grid, that you actually can use. Urban survival, Lochem weekend, warrior weekend. Also, I want to hear from you. Put a comment down the video and tell me, are you a martial artist or are you an urban survivalist? Are you a martial artist and urban survivalist? Which one are you first? Mike Lee Connect, movement is life. Go get it.